Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's amazing to see how many people have joined so early. Usually, the peak comes about 10 minutes into the meeting already, but this time we have a very, very strong startup. Thank you. Can we feel free, guys, go into the chat box, please, and introduce yourself. For the sake of sanity, everybody's on mute, so please introduce yourself. It's nice to know who you are, what you do, and where you're joining from. So the benefit of typing in what you do is we can tailor the contents to either your industry or your line of business. So maybe before you can be the first, you can type into the chat
Good
box.
afternoon, everybody. My name is Dr. Dikpo Awojide, popularly known as Ogbeni Dikpo. I am a senior lecturer in strategy at Nottingham Business School. I am also the founder of BTDT Hub, and BTDT stands for Been There, Done That. So we are a human capital development company. We help young professionals and middle-level professionals, and of course, senior level professionals brand themselves excellently by reviewing their CVs, cover letters, LinkedIn profile, and getting them ready for interviews. We organize recruitment on behalf of companies. We, organize study abroad, or we engage in study abroad activities for folks who want to study abroad. We also have the BTDT Business Hub division that basically promotes MSMEs and SMEs, helping them increase visibility. We organize master classes, executive education classes, training fresh graduates, training middle managers who are looking to become more productive or who are looking to, advance their careers by switching from one role to the other, from one industry to the other. I mean, we do a whole lot of other things, but that basically summarizes what BTDT does.
Thank you, Deepo. I think there's a lot of noble things that you do, and I'm sure you are being humble in this introduction. I can go on and on introducing you, but I think one thing to say about you that I really admire is how you have a genuine interest in young people, developing young people, preparing them for the future. I think that's amazing. And if you didn't know, Deepo has mentored directly over 1,000 young people from various countries. And aside from the direct mentoring, I'm sure that you do, there's also the, let's say, remote mentoring, because you have a strong followership, and basis the kind of content that you post, the kind of content that supports that development, there's also that mentoring that go on even without your knowing. So well done, and I'm really happy to have this conversation with you. I've read out a few of the posts. We have pharmacists in medical sciences. We have okay, the messages are coming, so I'm missing my engineer Michael, mechanical engineer in private practice. We have Indeshi, a teacher by profession and an independent business owner. You are welcome. Shebufumi, you are welcome. And we have a student, Soare Daniel. I hope I pronounced that well. 500 level student of dentistry in University of Jos. Excited to be here. We have people from Mina. We have people from, of course, Lagos, and an architect in the construction industry. That's Oladumoyi Ayo. And we have one of your team members, Uluwaduni Fanibe.
Oh, okay, good. Welcome, Duni, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We're going to start right away. I will say welcome once again. This is the Tech Biz series, and this is brought to you by Eco Innovation Center. My name is Georgia Ikeruche. You know me already. I'm a strategist, and I am focused on growing, managing, and developing businesses. And I've done this for many years. I've done this in a number of countries. And why is Tech Biz a passion of mine? It's because I see the possibility for small, medium-scale businesses within our country. And I think that what is important is to share experiences, to share what makes other businesses successful, that every other individual can learn from, can adapt, adopt, and then run their own businesses to thrive. Even for you as an individual entrepreneur, many learnings that help you develop and help you grow as a person that of course translates to the growth and profitability of your business. This is the 10th of the series, so I like to count. We've run 9 other series previously. It happens every single Thursday, 5 p.m. Nigerian time. Today, we're going to be talking about growing from entrepreneurship and becoming a leader that is able to galvanize people for results, a leader that is able to influence to deliver. But as well, we talk about strategy because you cannot run away from that. As a business owner, you must strategize, you must plan. And Dipo has, you will see his content, you share with us step-by-step approach that helps us define our strategy and prepare us for some risks and eventualities. Talk a little bit about Eco Innovation Center. If the team can help put up my slide on Eco Innovation Center. The purpose of the center is about leveraging technology and innovation to solve problems of poverty within the continent. Of course, we focus first on Lagos State, then we go to Nigeria, and then, of course, Africa. But it is about bringing innovation and running it on the back of technology, because we know that technology helps to scale, it helps to accelerate, and of course, technology is the wave of today. There are pillars towards which we do this. Learning is my passion. Learning is extremely critical, and this is one of such, the tech bit. But we also have professional schools, data schools, AI schools, and machine learning schools that really teach the technical part of that line. I'll talk a little bit about acceleration and civic tech. If you didn't know, today we launched Lagos Smart Meter Initiative, and that initiative is a hackathon, and it is crowdsourcing the development of software and hardware for a smart meter that really helps power distribution, access to power as well within the state of Lagos. So for my techies who are on the call, if you are in that line, please go to lagossmartmeter.com to learn more about the hackathon, and we'll be very excited to have you participate in that hackathon. It is on and closes on the 28th of August. Of course, there's money to be won, as you may imagine, money and royalties. As at now, the amount on the table is 7 million naira. So please have fun and participate in that. Reach out to Eco Innovation, info@ecoinnovationhub.com. Feel free to reach out to us should you need some support. We're going to go straight into the discussion today. Before we're talking about leadership. You can take over the screen now so that you can share your deck.
Okay.
Yes, and we can go straight into it because I'm sure everyone is yearning to hear from you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, welcome to this session, everybody. So we are going to be focusing on how to grow beyond entrepreneurship and become a leader. I believe that a lot of the people who have joined this live webinar are folks who already run businesses, or folks who, are thinking of starting a business. People who have been in the game for a long time. Our content is, targeted at a variety of audience, irrespective of, whatever industry it is that you currently do business in. Doja, can I just confirm that you can hear me clearly?
Loud and clear.
Okay. And can you
And
see me as
can
well,
we?
or can I stop my video?
It would be very nice to see you, but if you want to stop your video, feel free to.
Okay.
Can anyone please comment in the event that you cannot hear? Can you please comment so that we know that? Kelechi Kali, if you don't mind, please log off and log on again because I think that there must be something about your connection. Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we are okay, so this is the overview of today's session. We are going to focus on the role of business leaders, how leaders get results, how to create an environment that drives innovation, and analyzing future opportunities to create competitive strategies. So these are the four main, areas that we are going to focus on in the next 30 to 35 minutes. I'm going to try to use, relatable examples. I'm going to try to, just keep it as simple as possible so we all understand the terminologies that are being used. Our main focus is going to be on the behaviors of the individuals. So behaviors of business leaders. So by business leaders, I mean the CEO, I mean the senior management team and middle management level, chief operating officers, team leads, supervisors. So within an organization. So this is not just targeted at folks who run businesses or folks who founded a business. So if you are a middle level manager or if you are, a team lead within an organization, you are part of, the leaders in such an organization. So we're going to start off with the role of business leaders. So leadership is about human relationship, and the best leaders are relationship builders. So as a business leader, it is your responsibility to build excellent working relationships with people who work within your company. So with all the teams, with every individual that works with you or that works for you, you need to have that human touch. You need to build an excellent relationship with them. And business is war, and in war, the goal is to win. And I always say as well that, the business of business is business, and the business of business is making profits. So if you want to win as a business leader, you need to understand your people. You need to understand your team. You need to have a good relationship with your team. And ultimately, as a business leader, one of your most important roles is to actually get outstanding results. So you want to ensure that as much as possible, you get results in terms of, increase in market share, in terms of increase in profitability at the end of the financial year. You want to ensure that you create new streams of revenue for your business. You want to ensure that employees are engaged, because employee engagement is also very, very important. So it's not just about making profits. You also have to ensure that, your employees or people who work for you, your team members, are adequately engaged, because when they are engaged, then they don't leave. When they are engaged, they are more committed to the business. When they are engaged, they share ideas with you as freely as possible. And as a business leader, as the CEO, as the chief operating officer, as the team lead, as the departmental lead or supervisor, the buck stops at your table, but ultimately at the table of the CEO. Yes, of course. But, if you are responsible for a section of the business or you are responsible for an arm of the business, the buck ultimately still stops, at your table. So as a business leader, you need to take ownership and be responsible. So you need to take ownership and be responsible. If you are the CEO for the entire business, if you are the CFO, at the C-suite, you need to take ownership and responsibility. If you are a team lead, you have to take ownership and responsibility for the department or for the arm of the business that you lead. So as a business leader, it is entirely up to you. It is your responsibility to craft a competitive strategy. So you need to create a strategy. And once a strategy has been created, you need to share the vision and the mission. So for BTDT Hub, I am responsible for creating the business strategy. But of course, I don't do this alone. I do this by working alongside, the management team, so to say, at BTDT Hub, because I want to get the views and the opinions of everybody and take that on board when crafting the business strategy. But of course, as the CEO, ultimately, it is my responsibility to craft the business strategy. Business leaders are also responsible for sharing the vision and the mission, inspiring and motivating, hiring and firing. But of course, if you hire right and you motivate the people, they are not going to leave. There's going to be a low turnover, and you won't have to fire anybody because people will do their jobs and be committed. So as a business leader, you have to share the vision. You have to ensure that everyone understands the strategy. And this is very important because you don't want to be that leader who, when your people ask you for direction or ask you, so what are we doing in the next 3 months or 6 months? You say, oh, God is going to guide us or God is going to show us the way. No, God is not going to show you the way. It is your responsibility. You are the one who is in charge. You should be in charge of creating the strategy and sharing the vision and ensuring that the vision and the mission, the goals and the strategy of the business, of the brand is cascaded throughout the entire organization and throughout the entire team. So this basically summarizes the role of business leaders. So how exactly do leaders get results? Leaders get results by communicating and by encouraging open communication. So as I noted earlier, a leader has to craft the strategy and share the vision and the roadmap. So if you want to get results as a business leader, you have to communicate with your people. And not only do you need to communicate with your people, you need to communicate with your clients. You need to communicate with your customers. You need to communicate with your stakeholders. So if you have investors, for example, you need to communicate with the regulators. But it is very, very important that you communicate with people who work within your organization, especially the senior management team. Because once they have a good understanding of the business, they can give you feedback. So if you encourage open communication, if people are not scared of you or afraid of you as a CEO or as a senior manager or a middle manager or a team lead within a company, then they are in a better position to actually expressly give you ideas and opinions, which can help in scaling your business. Once again, leaders who want to get results have to motivate and inspire their team. They have to set achievable goals. So if you run a micro enterprise, or by Nigerian's definition, a micro enterprise, you could say our goal for this year is to make revenue of 100 million naira or revenue of 150 million or 200 million naira and profit of 40 million or profit of 50 million. So you have to set goals that that your team can achieve realistically. You don't want to set goals that are not achievable or goals that are not attainable and make everyone run around and stress themselves. Because when people burn out, you know, they more or less, become less productive and they might want to leave your company. You need to invest in your team. So invest in training, invest in, upskilling, invest in cross-skilling, just basically ensuring that your team are not, who they were yesterday or who they were 6 months ago or 1 year ago. Because if you invest in your team, then they are in a better position to actually bring more value to the table. And when they bring more value to the table, and you make profit or your sales increase or your market share increase, everyone actually benefits from that value which is created. If you also want to get results as a business leader, you need to engage and empower your team. So engage and empower your team. So when you delegate to your team, let them get the job done. Just leave them alone. Create a direction, create a roadmap, offer them a level of guidance. Don't just throw them into the boat, and empower them to actually go on to do the job. So at BTDT Hub, I don't stand on the heads of the people who work for us or who work with us on a daily basis. I let them carry on their job. Even the interns that we have, I let them just carry on with the job. They have my trust, they have my confidence, and I just let them do the job. If you want results as a business leader, you have to create a fun environment. So in our businesses, we have team dinners. We just go out and spend 100,000 or 200,000 naira. In January this year, we had a boat. We had a boat trip. Although I wasn't there, but we rented a boat. We paid for drinks. We paid for food. Just to ensure that we come together as a team and we have fun. So it's not just all work, work, work. At the beginning of the year, sometimes in the middle of the year, or when people are stressed out, just create a fun environment. Ensure that people like not just the job that they do, but of course the work environment as well. And of course, it is important to delegate. So as a business leader, you definitely cannot do everything on your own. When you delegate, you need to let the people, go on and exercise their creativity. Let them go on and, within the guidance that you have offered, basically you've shared the vision, they have a good understanding of the strategy, let them just go on and do the job. So when you delegate, avoid micromanagement. And of course, if you want results as a business leader, you need to build trust. So build trust your people. Don't second guess their decisions. Don't think, don't act in a way that makes them think or believe that you don't trust them. So these are some key points for leaders who actually want to get results from their team and, scale their business. So how to create, an environment that drives innovation within your business. You want to ensure that, as a business leader, you invest a lot of time, a lot of money and resources in continuous improvement. Because once again, you don't want to be where you were, 6 months ago or, a year ago. You want to ensure that, your business actually moves to the next level. So your business is scalable. And, scalability is a bit of a challenge for a lot of people. It's a bit of a challenge for a lot of businesses. So a lot of people start businesses and within 2 years, the business actually dies. So a lot of people start businesses and within 5 years, it crashes. Why? Because their strategies are not sustainable. Why? Because they don't invest in continuous improvement. Why? Because they don't have a good understanding of the changes in the external environment. So it is important that if you want your people to be innovative, if you want your team to be innovative, if you want to create a culture and a context within your organization, that drives innovation or that encourages innovation, you need to avoid micromanagement and you need to give credit when due. So when someone does something excellently, so when Oluwaduni, for example, who is BTDT's Chief Operating Officer, or Oluwatayo Dada, who is our Deputy Chief Operating Officer, or Tayo Razak, or Ajibayo, who is a team lead, or Jeff, who is our Quality Control Associate, or Odunola, who is a business manager for one of our businesses, Tony, who is our accountant, Chikode, who is, an intern with us. Now we call her a senior intern because she has proved herself, and I don't even see her as an intern anymore. So when these guys actually come on board with a good idea, Olamide, when they come on board with a good idea, I make sure I give them credit. Shola Suleiman. So the session we had yesterday on credibility interview was actually off a discussion I had with Shola Suleiman. So, a lot of young people who work with us, a lot of young people who, have been with us in the last 2 or 3 years, they come up with fantastic ideas. So I'm the founder of the business, but I'm not always the smartest person in the room, or I'm not always the smartest person around the table. So when these guys actually come on board with fantastic ideas, I acknowledge them and I make sure that I share that information to other people so that they are more motivated and empowered to come with more, to come with better ideas in the future. Improve the work process. So you need to have an outstanding work process, because if you don't have processes, if you don't have excellent processes, your customers and clients are not going to be satisfied. They are going to get frustrated with your services, and they might ultimately end up, dragging you on social media, and that might have a negative impact, on the brand. So you need to ensure that you improve the work process. And be open-minded and listen to your people, listen to folks who deal with the client and the customers, because they have first-hand information of what the client and the customers actually require. And this is for folks who are just starting out in business, or for people who want to scale their business, either from the micro level to, from the micro to the small, or from the small to the medium. You have to ensure that you are open-minded and you listen to your team and listen to customers. Create a solid organizational structure. So it is important to have a structure within your company and make sure that everyone knows who they are reporting to. So you can create a functional structure. And by functional structure, I mean you have, say, for example, a marketing department, an HR department, a production department, a sales department, a finance and accounts department, and everyone actually knows what they are doing. And everyone within the company should also have a good understanding of how their little kingdoms or their little islands, how it feeds into the overall objective of the company. So it's not just, oh, I'm the guy in marketing department, I'm just going to care about marketing. You have to care about the entire organization. You have to care about, the entire business. So ultimately, business leaders, you must create that environment. You must ensure that the culture of the business or the culture of the organization is not toxic, because wherever there's a toxic culture, it negates how creative people can be. It negates how innovative people can be. I mean, towards the end of this session, I'm going to touch on some, theoretical concepts and how you can apply them. But I just thought it would be more important to focus on the behavioral aspects. So what you can do as an individual, what you can do as a business leader to actually, move away from just being an entrepreneur or just being a one-man business or a five-man business into becoming a business leader as an individual, and for your business itself to gain more credibility, to become more established, for you to be, one of the key players within your industry. I mean, I can boldly say that some of the services that BTDT Hub offers, within 5 years, we are now the market leader or one of the top 3 market leaders. And this is not me boasting. I mean, besides Jobberman in Nigeria, when it comes to personal branding, I can't think of any other company that is as excellent as BTDT Hub when it comes to personal branding. CV reviews, cover letter reviews, interview preparation, LinkedIn optimization, and we actually arrived here, because of the excellence of our team, because of people like Fejiro, because of people like Damilola, because of people like Favor, whose birthday is today, by the way. So we actually got here by allowing the people get the job done. We got here, by motivating the workforce, by ensuring that everyone, Sheung Ogumodede, Temi Ogumodede, Richard, and, there are about 40 of us across all our businesses. So I might struggle a little bit if I don't, remember all the names. But I just thought, tie this back into the point, giving credit when and where it is due. So these are some very important points for leaders who want to create a business environment or a work culture that drives and encourages innovation. So analyzing future opportunities to formulate strategy. So to formulate competitive strategies, you need to understand. So I teach strategic management in my day job as a lecturer at Nottingham Trent University. So this, basically is my area, but I'm going to try as much as possible, not to spend too much time on this. I'll try to spend, more time answering some of the questions that people have actually asked. So, coming up with futuristic strategies, you have to first of all understand what a strategy is. Okay, so a strategy is a broad formula for how a business is going to compete, what its goals should be, what policies will be needed to carry out those goals. A strategy is a pattern of resource deployment. But basically, when you talk about strategy or strategic management, as a business leader, you have to think about what is our present situation. So for those who have started their businesses, for those who are looking to scale, for those who are looking to become better, for those who are looking to gain more credibility within the industry and become a business leader, a responsible business leader, as an individual and as for the business collectively, you need to start by asking yourself, what is our present situation within the industry? What is our present situation? What is our competitive strength? What exactly are our weaknesses? What are the resources and capabilities available to us? Then you need to ask yourself, where do we want to go from here? So this is where we are. Where do we want to be at the end of 2021? At the end of 2025, where exactly do we want to be? Okay, what is our vision? What is, what is the direction? How are we going to make decisions? Then you need to clarify how you are going to get there. So how you are going to get there is the strategy. So how exactly are we going to get? Are we going to get here by selling at a cheaper price? Are we going to get here by differentiating ourselves? As an individual who wants to become a business leader, who wants to become a responsible business leader, am I going to achieve that by improving on my expertise as an individual and becoming an opinion leader or a thought leader? So these are some things that you have to clarify. Then, of course, you have to clarify, what is the competitive advantage, and, what is the difference between a competitive advantage and a sustainable competitive advantage. So BTDT Hub, some of our businesses, we have an existing competitive advantage. But that does not mean we are going to be in the same position in the next 5 years. Because some new players are coming into the industry. Some new players are coming into the industry and copying the same thing that we are doing. I mean, some new players are coming in that they've just gone to our website and copied and pasted everything and just adapted the English. But we shall overcome by the special grace of God and by the competence of the excellent people who work with us. So you need to clarify what is the competitive advantage. Nokia, I'm sure a lot of you actually know Nokia. Nokia had about 60% of the market share. They had a good competitive advantage. But today, Nokia did not retain that competitive advantage, so it wasn't sustainable. Blockbuster, the rental video company in the USA, this company also had a competitive advantage. I mean, I can go on and give, several examples. BlackBerry is another company that we all know. They had a competitive advantage in 2008, 2009, 2010. But that advantage was not sustainable. They didn't sustain it over time. And they lost, they ultimately lost their way. So if you want to create a futuristic strategy, you need to understand the macro environment. I'm going to share this slide with Eco Hotel and Dodge, Eco Innovations and Dodger, so you can actually, go on and view this in much more detail at the end of the session. So you need to understand.
Just to interrupt you, sorry, Dipo. I already posted in the chat room that the slides will be available on our website.
Okay.
So no one should worry. All of the content will be available. The video as well will be available. So
fantastic.
Let's be okay.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Okay. Yes. So you need to understand, the difference between the macro level and the micro level, and you need to be able to, analyze the macro level and the micro level. So at the macro level, you're looking at factors that play within, at a larger scale within the country. What are the political factors? What are the legal factors? So Gokada, and some of the other Allright and some of the other competitors recently, they had to, they were faced with changes in the external environment due to government policy. And they had to adapt and change their business model. Unfortunately, some businesses actually had to fold up. But, it is important to have a good understanding of the economic factors, technological changes, environmental factor, legal factors. So Netflix was a nobody a couple of years ago. Blockbuster and some other rental, DVD and cassette rental companies were the big players within the industry. And some of these players had a lot of money. They had the opportunity to buy Netflix. But now Netflix is the baby boy in town, so to say. There could be technological changes in the external environment, in the macro environment, that you have to pay attention to. And of course, you also need to carry out a SWOT analysis. You need to understand your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So your strengths and weaknesses are internal to you as an individual and to your business as a whole. Opportunities and threats are external. So these are factors at play within the external environment. These are, sometimes things that you cannot control, things that are out of, your control. So please make sure you, go through this slide, at the end of the session and, go through some of the factors that can be your core strengths, what your weaknesses can be and what you can do about them. Then, of course, the 5 forces framework that looks at, bargaining power of suppliers, potential entry, so threat of new entrants into the industry. Some industries, it is easy for just anybody to come in there and compete. Okay, so how is the threat moderate? Is the threat high? Is the threat low? You have to clarify that. The bargaining power of buyers, the bargaining power of substitutes, and ultimately competitive rivalry. So how intense is the level of competition within the industry? You have to clarify all of this. So once you've actually done all of that, you need to profile your competitors, and BTDT Hub is actually very good at doing this. Ajibayo, Oluwaduni, Tayo Dada, they come to me and say, oh, Dipo, this so person has recently done this. This company has recently done this. This company has had this partnership with this person. So that basically, is profiling the competitor. Okay, so you need to profile the competitor excellently so that, you refine your own offering and you become better at what you do. And you also need to understand your value proposition. So what is your USP? What is your unique selling point? And how can you, constantly reinvent yourself and ensure that unique selling point is not eroded by copycats, or is not eroded by people who just come to the industry and want to do ultimately the same thing as you. You also, of course, need to understand the industry. So there's the industry or the product life cycle. So this basically has 4 stages: introductory stage, the growth stage, maturity stage, and the decline stage. And for each of these stages of a product, so our CV review services, for example, could be at the growth stage, whereas another arm of the business could be at the introductory stage, and this is at the product level. But the industry, some of our products would be at the maturity stage, others would be at the growth stage. We have to think carefully about strategic implications. So at the introductory stage, at the growth stage, at the maturity stage, and the decline stage, what do we need to do? What should our customer strategy be? What should our competitor strategy be? How should we attack our rivals, or how should we get better? And of course, customer profiling is also very, very important. You need to engage in market segmentation. So you need to understand if your product is a consumer product or an industrial product. You can segment your market based on geography, based on demographics, so the ages of the people, the sex, the level of education, socioeconomic income, ethnic group. So if you're a black business in the UK, you're not targeting everybody. You can target, or you can segment markets based on lifestyle. You can actually basically so I'll give an example. I always used to use this example of Sony's PS3 and Microsoft's Xbox 360. So for those who play game, I mean, between 2005, I'd say, and 2008 or 2010, Microsoft and Sony, so they came up with, I think it was PS2 and Xbox. They had a huge market share. Nintendo came out from nowhere with Nintendo Wii, and they got around 65 to 68% of the market share. Why? Because they profiled the customers, they engaged in market segmentation, and they served an underserved market. And by doing that, they ultimately destroyed the value that Sony and Microsoft were offering. So once again, I'm happy to provide more information about this. I'm actually rushing now. I'm going to try to see if I can answer some of the questions. So I'm going to go through this, as quickly as possible. Portfolio analysis. I mean, you can read this in much more detail as well. First mover advantage. This is very, very important. Amazon, eBay are examples of companies that ultimately had a first mover advantage within their industry. So what they actually employed was a blue ocean strategy. So a blue ocean is a fresh ocean, as compared to a red ocean, which there are so many big fishes or so many big sharks. So if you want to do business and you want to scale to the next level, if you want to grow as a leader, as a thought leader, as a responsible business leader, as an individual, or take your business to the next level, you need to think about blue oceans. Are there market spaces where people are not competing in? Are there market spaces on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, where people have not positioned themselves in? Can I position myself in those markets or in those boxes? Okay. Skype had a first mover advantage, but now Zoom is, there are Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Meets, which used to be Google Hangouts. They've now dominated the market. I mean, how did Skype lose 2 decades of first mover advantage, of being the first in the market? So the fact that you have a first mover advantage does not necessarily mean that that competitive advantage that you have is going to be, sustainable over a long period of time. Okay, so in crafting a strategy, future directions or decisions, what do you need to do? Do you need to merge? Do you need to acquire another company, or do you need to be acquired yourself? Do you need to, concentrate your forces like Coca-Cola? So Coca-Cola has been in business longer than my father has been alive. longer than I've been alive. They've been in business for over 100 years. Do you need to divest? So divestment basically means, getting out of a market. So pulling your money and, leaving a market and going to compete elsewhere. Do you need to, basically, engage in diversification? So diversification, involves companies or brands actually competing in multiple markets. So Virgin is a very good example. I'm sure you all know Virgin. Virgin Atlantic, Virgin Train, Virgin Railway, Virgin Media. I mean, they actually compete in different market segments, and a lot of Nigerian companies actually do this as well. So Zenith Bank, GTB, UBA, they all have, different arms of the business that do different things. So these are, things to consider in crafting a future, or crafting an excellent future strategy. So I'm going to try to answer some of the questions that have actually been raised, by some of you. Some have actually asked that in building your small business or in improving your, your medium scale business and scaling, what do you need to do? You need to share the vision with your team. You need to set clear goals, for your team. You need to reinforce the need for excellence. You need to build an excellent work culture. You need to, avoid micromanagement. I mean, it's a lot of questions, but, I'm just trying to combine all of them. So how to become value-based leader as an entrepreneur, how to be a successful entrepreneur, how can an entrepreneur build small business in the food processing industry. So I don't have an excellent knowledge of the food processing industry, but I can offer generic advice and generic opinions. So you need to encourage open communication and build trust. I think I've actually touched on, some of this within my presentation.
Let's go into the chats box now, because there are quite a number of questions already in there. And then also to everyone, please, should you want to ask your question verbally, please feel free to raise your hand and we'll reach you. But I have, as we were, I think 5 questions already. And wow. As you were speaking specifically on points that you raised, and thank you actually for that thorough content. So you talked about the how, right? So these are the behavioral competencies that an entrepreneur needs actually to elevate their business into leadership and build strong competitive advantage. On the other side, you talked about the what, which is, the strategy and the kind of considerations that one has to make in order to build the right strategy that sets you up for success. So that, for me, I think it's a very perfect balance that you have shared, and of course that has elicited a lot of questions. Now, when you start to talk about people management, first question is, how does a business leader manage healthy competition among his employees in getting the job done and targeting results?
Okay, that's a very good question. I mean, for me, what I do is, it's okay to compete so long as it's not, so long as it doesn't become, unhealthy competition. So ultimately, I just try to create a balanced, field, or a level playing field for everybody. And I try to have frank and honest conversations, because I believe, having frank and honest conversations within your team, would actually, sort of, ultimately just let people know that you're not taking sides with anybody. You're not trying to defend one person, or, favor one person over the other, if that makes sense.
Indeed.
So it's just, it's just basically, having open and frank conversation. I mean, it's okay to compete. I mean, it would be nice if we don't compete ourselves as within a team of 10 people. It would be nice if we're not trying to outshine ourselves. But if, people are trying to get the attention of the CEO or the chief operating officer, then as a CEO or as a chief operating officer or as a team lead, then you need to accommodate everybody within your team. Understand that, make them understand that such competition is good, So long as it doesn't degenerate into, a dog eats dog culture. Because to me, that is just not acceptable, because you are all sort of trying to achieve the same goal by working for the same company. So trying to bring down another person or stand on the head of someone else to achieve your own goals, I don't think is the right way to go.
Clear, very clear. You know, when you started, you actually said that the best leaders are relationship builders.
Yep,
So this is part of building relationships with your team as a whole, but also with individuals. And you have to build that relationship in a fair manner. You said it. Avoid favoritism, avoid partiality, those kinds of things. There's no way it would not breed unhealthiness within the team. So should you be able to, have the relationship be as fair as you can, and also
yep,
be very, very attentive when you start to smell any kind of rivalry. You have to
yep.
be quite attentive about it and nip it in the bud as it comes, right? Anyway, I'll take you straight to the next question. Now, looking at the things you have enumerated in raising leaders in our place of work, why are some entrepreneurs afraid to raise their workforce in terms of training and allowing them to take ownership? So this question is coming from Jerry Cray Michael, mechanical engineer from Port Harcourt.
Okay. Yeah, so a lot of companies don't invest in people. One, because they don't have resources. Two, some are worried that if they invest in their people, say for example, I pay 200,000 or 300,000 to train someone. What happens if they leave me next month? So that is one of the reasons why, some companies don't invest in training for their people. I was having a discussion with one of my mentors. His name is Olufemi Awoyemi, founder of ProShare. And, he said to me, Deepo, when people want to leave me, I try to find out why they want to leave and I let them go. And I've, in my business as well, I've told my people that, if you get a better job, if you want to move to Canada or go study elsewhere, it's going to be very unfortunate of me to try to stop anybody from, advancing their careers. And it doesn't matter if you've invested so much money, so much time and resources on those people. You need to let them go. So it is important that you invest in your team, and it is also important as a business leader that you let them take ownership. Okay, so when you delegate a task to them, when you handle, when you give them a responsibility, let them get on with that responsibility. Let them feel as though they are in charge, because you can actually be in power, or you can have a title and not have any powers within an organization or within a company. So when people have titles, when they have responsibilities, just let them carry on, let them have ownership and full control of what they do.
Deepo, I'm sure you've heard that saying, but it was a famous conversation that was said to have happened between Steve Jobs in his early days and his CFO. So the CFO asks him, oh, what if we spend all this money training all these people and they leave?
Yeah.
And Steve Jobs says, what if we
What if they don't leave?
we don't spend that money and they stay? So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
end up with, the risk is there, of course, that they would leave, right? But
Yeah.
on the other side, the bigger risk is that they stay and you have underdeveloped, non-productive people who are not performing, and of course impacts on the results.
Yeah.
So, finally, it's the owner's decision to make, but you are better off because you get better returns when you develop your people, because you get the right results.
Yeah. Sure.
So I'm going to quickly ask to unmute. Oops, what did I just do? It was supposed to be kids in a box. Did you get unmuted? Kids in a box. There we go. All right, found you.
Hello. Yeah, this is Edmund.
Okay, go ahead,
Ed from
Edmund.
Ghana. Yeah. I must commend the facilitator, especially in his ability to remember most of his teammates, and even for the mention of the birthday. And for me, I think it's a great lesson, because regardless of the number of people you work with, once you build a very good relationship with them, you are able to manage the team very well. And I also believe that by connecting with them, it is much easier to connect before you can correct. if you connect with people, it's easy to correct them when they are derailing somehow. And I must be very frank, this has been a very, very great presentation, and I really, really enjoyed it. Thank you
Thank you,
very much.
Edmund. Thank you. And indeed, he's right. Actually, I was quite impressed that the point of recognition is so critical, and you nailed it today, right? By mentioning your team members, recognizing them for the great concepts, great work that they are doing, and that is such a strong motivator.
Yeah.
So well done.
Yeah,
Now
thank you.
I'm gonna ask you another question. In an environment where you are encouraged to bring ideas, but the ideas are knocked out without feedback, and most times the alternative idea picked ends up failing, what do you do to maintain and regain your sanity in that kind of work environment?
That's a very good question, and that is not a company that you want to spend too much time in. I mean, if that happened continuously and repeatedly in a company that you work for, I think you should start, planning your exit from that company. Because if you come up with brilliant ideas and they don't listen to you, or your ideas are always shut down. I mean, I perfectly understand the need to always listen to other people, because sometimes we think we have the best ideas, but someone else might have a better idea. But ultimately, as a business leader, as someone who is a business leader, CEO, chief operating officer, a team lead, you have to accommodate you have to encourage your people to come with you with fantastic ideas, with brilliant ideas, because there's also this popular saying that says that we pay people to tell us what to do, not for us to tell them what to do on a daily basis. So you have your team there. So at BTDT Hub, we have a lot of young people who come with us. They come with us with fantastic ideas, and we take those ideas on board. That doesn't always mean that we are going to act on those ideas. So recently, Ajibayo and Tayo, one of our team leads and one of our deputy chief operating officer, came to us and say, "Oh, we need to, create like an app, where people can go on a BTDT app." I had a discussion with our chief operating officer, Oluwaduni, and we brainstormed, and we were going to take the idea forward, but we didn't have the resources to do this. I mean, it was millions of naira, and it was very glaring to everybody. So I got everyone on the team. We got on a phone call with a client who was going to do this for us, and it was just clear that we couldn't afford it. So as a business leader, you have to allow your people, you have to let them come up with ideas. And if your ideas as a team member, a team player, or an employee within an organization is not always taken on board, if your ideas are constantly ignored and not acted upon, and your creativity and sanity is being questioned, then I think you need to, perhaps first of all, have a frank conversation with your boss or your manager or with your team. And if nothing changes, then you might consider, plotting your exit from such a company.
Thank you. Kids without a box, please accept my request to unmute. Okay. If that is not working, I may have to move to Kelvin. We have quite a few hands up, so.
There was a question around.
Hello, good evening.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you so much for your lecture and for being generous enough to give it to us at a no cost. Now I came in not too early, but I listened to the aspect of where you talked about the SWOT analysis. Now you have a business, and I want to ask, you find yourself in a pandemic like we are now, reality. Can you consider that as a threat to a business? If it is a threat, what can you do, like a business coming up in future, using this SWOT as an evaluation? What can you and a business do to prepare for such saving? What else can a business do in future, forecasting for the future, and you find yourself in such a situation? How can a business survive in a pandemic like this?
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that question. So, a SWOT analysis does not mean, carrying out a SWOT analysis does not mean that you are going to have all the answers. I mean, a lot of us have been saying that, oh no, we didn't know about this pandemic. We never expected that anything like this was going to happen. But guess what? Some British and American companies in the last 10, 15 years have been paying for insurance in case a pandemic or what's the lesser word to pandemic now?
Force majeure?
No. There's there's a pandemic that is it
natural disaster, epidemic?
Epidemic, yeah, an epidemic. So they've taken out insurance against a pandemic or against an epidemic. So I mean, we can't plan out everything. I tweeted something earlier today. I said adaptation, adjustment, and resilience are core survival skills that we must learn. So Omotayo Razak manages one of the arms of BTDT or BTDT as a business. And that arm of the business in the last couple of months, we have actually struggled. So it's basically home tutors. We can't go into people's house to deliver teaching, okay? Secondary school students or people preparing for WAEC and JAM, or primary school students, we can't go to their house and teach them, in their house, in their homes. So we have had to adjust. So in the future, I mean, it is unfortunate that we cannot plan for everything. So an earthquake, for example, if an earthquake happens, so Japan, Toyota, when an earthquake happened in 2011, I think, 2010 or 2011, Toyota was almost knocked out because they have most of their factories in Japan, and it had a negative impact on them. By 2015, when another earthquake happened in Japan, Toyota had spread out their production factories all across the world. They had moved, sourcing raw materials to the USA. They had moved some other departments and factories to somewhere else. So that had, and of course, their inventory system and manufacturing processes had been adapted. So you can adjust, you can adapt, you can be resilient, but unfortunately, we cannot plan for every eventuality. No matter how sound, no matter how excellent our SWOT analysis or our scenario planning analysis is, we cannot plan every scenario. I mean, look at OPEC, for example. When the USA and maybe Russia are fighting, whenever they have one of those trade wars or cold wars that they have, it has a negative impact on the oil industry. Whenever USA and China get into one of those fights that they have, it has a negative impact on trade on a global basis. So you cannot plan everything. And think about the impact of Russia and USA having trade wars, Saudi Arabia looking on the side. Look at the impact it has on Nigeria, how much money we lose within that short period of time that these countries actually have, are trying to flex muscle. So you can't plan everything, but you can be adaptable. You can rejig your systems. You can rejig your processes. I mean, some people have come up with new products and services in the last 4 or 5 months.
If I can give you a perfect example, right?
Yeah.
And everybody knows this one. This is Pepsi and Mirinda and the likes, right? So of course we're partying people, and these are refreshments that we drink when we're on the go, right? We've been on lockdown. We were on lockdown for quite a while, so there was no on the go. Then there haven't been parties since March, right? So of course that whole industry has suffered. What is Pepsi selling today? Too sure, I think that's what it's called, sanitizer. That is real adaptation, pivoting. Seemingly nobody expected, if I generalize, nobody expected the pandemic, but it's about adaptation, exactly what you said, you pivot. Now, at this point where you are, you can do a SWOT of the current today, and how can you swing into a new direction that completely changes your the business trend. The other one, remember, you talked about Gokada. When we were talking earlier, and Gokada, one government policy changed completely their business model. And while they, they were shocked initially, but they pivoted into delivery businesses. It may not be exactly the same, but at least it's keeping the company afloat. We have a few hands still, so let's take those. Kelvin?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dipo Awojide, for this session. Very much appreciated. I'm getting some insights because I'm the technical and training manager for my company where I work in. And I also have a business consulting firm as well. In the oil and gas industry, prior to now, in the late 90s and early 2000s, before the Nigerian content laws came in, we have more of technicalities being considered in the industry when it comes to job hunting or bids. But now, pricing is more than technicalities. And it's an issue because an upcoming company may just like come into the market and just go down on their prices, even if it's unfavorable to them. So the big names or those that are already existing, they already have staff that they are paying salaries and the high overheads. Pricing would not be favorable to them. So how do you cope, or how do you strategize in such a scenario?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. I mean, I'm not an expert on the oil and gas industry, and I mean, so I would not be able to, offer specific advice and recommendation. But I know that in business, some companies actually engage in what is known as predatory pricing. So they offer, prices sometimes, below the market value, and sometimes some large companies also do this as well. So they do this to actually kill, small businesses. I mean, look at what NIPOS tried to do, a couple of days ago. I think it was last week, and they are a player. They are trying to regulate. They are trying to set prices. You're asking young Nigerians to go and look for 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. Where are they going to get that money from? So I'm happy that, that very unrealistic policy was shut down immediately. But what companies can actually do, so, I mean, for those of you who are familiar with strategy and strategic management, I mean, you must know about Porter's generic strategies. So you have to either compete based on price, or based on low cost or cost leadership, or compete based on differentiation. So if someone comes into an industry or into your market segment and they are offering a lower price, and because you are a large company, you cannot match those lower prices because of your overhead cost, you can actually sell and compete based on differentiation. You can compete based on the existing networks that you have within that industry. Doja, perhaps maybe you want to add, to my response to this question.
No, this one you are absolutely spot on. One of the biggest challenges, or one of the most difficult things actually, is to compete on price. In fact, we had that discussion last week with the speaker Winston, who did tell us that, especially if you are dealing with a huge player and you don't have big pockets or deep pockets. So in this case, absolutely differentiation. You really need to find a niche, a certain need that player is not offering, that you are able to offer to your customer in a unique way, and then that becomes your own competitive advantage.
Yes.
we also are looking at time. I know you also have,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a queue behind waiting now. I was targeting 6:15. I do see though that we have about 4 questions still and 1 hand raised.
Should we take one more question?
Aha, exactly. So I will ask Omotayo Razak to unmute, and then he can ask his, or he or she can ask his. There you go.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you for the opportunity, and thanks to Dr. Dikpo for the insights. The question I want to raise is a bit on both sides. I would like to know if it is polite to always be proactive. Now, there is a reason why I'm asking that. I've had experiences too. I'm a teacher, I teach, and I've had different experiences from my last employers and my present employer. I have this ability to always detect a problem in the plan and also to detect a problem in the future, as well as provide a solution. Now, that has always made me seem like a threat to management. In my former place of employment, the owner of the school saw that and brought me in. I was just barely a year in the school, and I was made an assistant coordinator. Now, the director was always on me. You always see a problem. You always want to take my job. Do you know more than me? In my present school, barely after a year, I was made the head of primary coordinator, the head of primary section, rather. Now,
sorry,
because I
Omotayo,
was
I'm sorry, I'm now going to cut you. Could you just ask the question? We get the scenario, just ask the question so that we can deal with it.
The question is, should one always bring up solutions or detect problems, or it is best to just keep quiet and allow things happen?
Yeah, I mean, thank you very much, Tayo Razak, for that question. So, should you be proactive? Yes, of course. You need to be proactive. You need to bring your A game to whatever business that you actually get engaged in or that you actually work for. So you do some work for us at BTDT Home Tutors and you bring your A game. So in any company where there is that intense competition or where managers are feeling unsecured, you have to find a way. I mean, there's politics everywhere. I mean, people run away from Nigerian politics, but there's politics in companies, there's politics in families, there's politics in churches and in mosques and in religious settings. So you have to find a way to, know how to play the politics within that organization. But if it gets very toxic, someone sees you as a threat, then you have to be very careful. You have to be very careful. But, being diplomatic can actually help. So sometimes, when you want to suggest an idea, means, it's difficult working with managers or people who have ego issues because, you have to massage their egos before you suggest something. And I mean, personally, that's not the sort of leader that I am. Yeah, but, just be diplomatic, be proactive, bring your A game, whatever company or whatever brand you work for. And, there's politics everywhere. Learn how to play the politics within the company or within the organization.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dipo. I think that it's been quite a robust one. One of the most active because the questions just still keep pouring in, even though we do say that. Even though we do say that that's the last question we're going to take. I mean, there are chances, of course, for you can please post on Twitter, on Eco Innovation handles, and of course, Ogbeni Dipo's handles as well. And normally it's quite conversational, so please feel free to do so. Now, I'm sure in the course of all of this conversation, there have been so many tidbits. For me, the best leaders are relationship builders. For me, that's mine. And I'm going to tweet it once we get off this. So guys, please feel free to tweet #TechBiz, #EcoInnovation, #Ogbeni Dipo. Thank you so much. It's been a lovely, lovely evening. Exactly what we expected. In fact, more than what we expected. Normally, we do deploy a poll, but seemingly, I don't know, Coinsola is not deploying the poll, but normally we would like to deploy a poll so we understand how our audience rates this webinar. And in some cases, we also get qualitative feedback so we know how to improve, considering that we're running it every single week. The slides, the video, and even the audio will be available tomorrow at ecoicenter.com/webinar. Just go in there and you can download all the slides. Next week, Thursday, we're going to be talking about a critical topic about pricing. People say Nigerians don't like to pay for service. So we're going to talk about negotiations, how to make customers pay for value. That's an extremely important topic. How do you charge and make them pay for the value? And that is so critical because finally, it's when Naira exchanges hands, that's when your business, that's when you have revenue, that's when you can derive profit. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end. Thank you, Dipo. Thank you, everyone on the call. See you again next Thursday. And Dipo, see you on Twitter.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Doja.
Bye.
And thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.